Welcome back to Weekend Express. Now, in case you're just joining us, we're talking about the 16 days of activism, focusing mainly on violence against men. Now, in studio, we were having a heated discussion. And Daktari, before we took a break, you talked about counseling. You talked about skills that need to be placed in people. Where exactly do we get these skills from? Do they cost? Because, you know, the issue of cost is always something that is tricky. How much is it? Not everyone can afford it.
I think these issues begin even in childhood. If you grow up in a family where you're seeing your father and mother fight oftenly, then you grow up thinking that's how a family should be. And so for us to prevent, we start right from childhood. What example are you showing to the children that as they grow up, the boy or the girl there will know that when people disagree in a marriage, you box each other. So right from childhood, the example we teach on how to manage anger and how to deal with our stress, whenever there's an issue, children copy. And I've seen youngsters or young people who are saying, I do not want to get into marriage from what I saw as I grew up. But when it comes to adolescents, also, there's peer pressure because you are meeting with people who have grown from different families, different environment, and there's peer pressure and influence. Again, at that point in schools and colleges, I know schools have supposed to be teaching life skills, but most of the time, the class is taken for mathematics or English or Kiswahili to make sure that the exams are passed. But all those things are very important for a youth to learn. How do I manage anger when I have it? How do I resolve conflicts? How do I communicate effectively? Because these frustrations could be, I'm trying to communicate something and the other person is not understanding me. How do I get to communicate myself effectively? How do I empathize? So that if somebody, your spouse, has done something wrong, you're able to try and understand in terms of what could be happening before you met anger on them and you start saying sorry later. Yes. So life skills in adolescence and also avoiding substance abuse. Again, we've seen many perpetrators, although I'm not saying every case of gender-based violence, there's alcohol or drugs involved. They can also contribute further. So it's a whole spectrum, right from childhood, adolescent, and again, I'm saying in marriage, because you could have lived in a family where you saw violence. So that's what I'm saying, even in premarital counseling, that people need to be guided that violence is not acceptable. Whenever you have issues, because when you are two people, you'll always differ. How do you resolve them? Whenever you are stressed, because there are many issues to stress you in life today, how do you deal with that? So, and how do people relax? Like exercise, also lowering your expectations about life. Let's teach all these things at every level in our life. Again, even for those who are married, continuous marital enrichment to catch up and make sure that issues are resolved helps a lot.
Kennedy, you look like you have something to add.
Quite interesting. That is very important that Doctor is talking about. But again, we also have laws in Kenya. Laws that are supposed to prevent, help communities prevent gender-based violence in general. And so what has happened, or what has been happening is that there's never been a very strong emphasis on implementation of the laws. We have quite a number of laws. There's the Protection Against Domestic Violence Act, which was passed in 2015 May. And this law is bringing together a number of episodes of violence and how they should be handled. Sometimes when you go to court or when you go to seek justice, you realize that the systems and institutions may not be as responsive as you may want. Mainly, or sometimes it's because some of the people who are supposed to preside over this process of ensuring that you get justice are also perpetrators. Or they think that cases of domestic violence are very simple things compared to maybe a robbery that has happened somewhere. So they would opt to ngojea na hii kesi yako or hold on with this case as we pursue these drug peddlers. Yet, the impact of domestic violence is as severe to the people as any other criminal case. So it's important for us to amplify and ensure that the laws that are existing in Kenya are actually implemented to the letter. Yes. And that means that the whole institutions of dispensation of justice must be responsive enough in order for us to achieve zero cases of violence.
I like that, amplify. Simon, let me come to you. And when we were on the break, you talked about something very important. Marriage doesn't change a person.
Never.
Most of the time, people think, you know, they will change as we go on, they will learn to love me. But let's not forget that there are people who are nice to people before, you know, that there's that honeymoon stage.
Yes.
Then the moment you get married,
yes,
things go haywire.
Yeah. I will repeat the sentiment again, roundly, that marriage does not change a person. If you're not faithful before, marriage will not sustain the faithfulness. If someone batters you, or threatens you, or suppresses you, or coerces you into anything before you get married, be very careful. It is very difficult to change that person. They have already cultivated a way of how they get their things done. They have a pattern that they follow. And you also have a pattern from maybe where you came from. When these two come in, I love what the doctor said, that let us lower the expectations, even in marriage. Why? When I married, I was expecting she would be cleaning from my socks to everything that I own, to my bed and everything. To her side, she expected this will be a sponsor, sorry for the word,
yes,
who will be taking care of every need. So if one of the needs is not taken care of, she starts now regretting and regressing and getting into a circle of lighting detonators every time something has not been done. And one day, you will not be able to bring just a packet of flour, and it will now trigger the all other expectations that have been shut. And the bang will be amazing. It will be an instant bang which you cannot even help.
Yeah.
So for anyone reasoning, for anyone watching, marriage does not change a person.
However,
yes,
I would also want to say that if you are a perpetrator,
Yes.
and you have discovered this is an issue, as much as we say safety first, remove the person you're offending, then we also don't want you to get into another relationship and repeat the same mistakes. So there's therapy for perpetrators also, to be able to learn, what is it that I do wrong? What is it that makes me not be able to slap a colleague, but I can slap my spouse? So when we say that people can't change, then it means we close it up for perpetrators and also survivors, that they cannot get assisted. You can be assisted to learn how to manage anger. You can be assisted to learn how to deal with conflicts in a healthy way. You can be assisted to learn if the substance use related issue. You can be assisted to heal from childhood traumas, things which happened to you as you grew up and which you internalized as normal. You can learn. So let's not give up on that. Yes, justice will be done, but you are a human being who is going to live in the society. You will divorce with this woman or man, but somebody else who doesn't know will fall for you. And if you do not learn how to deal with the issues you're facing, then the next time you will be in court for a different, another gender-based violence.
Yes.
Yes.
For me, I think as a human rights practitioner, I believe that what we are failing to do is to live within the human rights standards, in that we must also recognize that roles are changing, in the sense that the roles that traditionally were meant for women are now changing.
Yes.
And so are we ready to live with this as men, for instance? That is one thing that we are failing. And once we fail to recognize that, and we fail to appreciate that they are human rights, because even the laws are supposed to promote and uphold human rights, then we will be in conflict every other day. Therefore, it's important for us now, as, let me talk about men, to begin to deconstruct the notions around a man that were created and, given to us without being given any responsibility. We want to be breadwinners without responsibility. We want to be the head of the family without being responsible. And we don't want to manage power. So if we cannot manage power, we cannot manage responsibility, then definitely we'll be in a warpath, because the woman that is in the house or your spouse is also changing because the environment is demanding, and it's creating a situation whereby she can go and work and come back. And so what happens when she goes to work and come back? How do we manage the relationship there? Because for you, you thought that the wife would be seated somewhere, you will be providing. Now it has changed. How do you live with that?
Let me put you on the spot. As a man, are you ready to accept this change? I mean, will you cook for your wife? Will you be able to accept the fact that, you know what, there are times when the wife will be taking care of you?
I'm practicing it, actually.
You are?
Yes.
That's a good thing. All right. So then, how do we help men speak out about this issue? I'll start with you because you experienced this.
One, I am happy for the question.
Yeah.
Such a forum is very important. When we come in and we are open and the world is watching, we are able to reach out. If you look at it closely, if you touch a wild animal, KWS will be on you.
Yes.
If you touch the children, the cradle will be on your neck. If you touch women, feeder, fully integrated dual advantage will be on you. If you touch the domestic animal, Kenya Society for the Protection of Animals at Gong, they will be on you. They even have what do you call it? They have an ambulance for the donkeys. But now the question is, even to my friend, who has come up with a protection for our men where we can be taught how to adversely be contented when my wife decides to go and work to Dubai for a week and come back.
Yes.
And I've never been to Dubai. So how will I take care of myself? The stress. Now, that is where exactly we are. So for us to help men, we need people like him. Like we need people who are able to come out with projects and call men together, mentor them before the tormentor meets them.
Kennedy, you look like you want to respond.
You are very strong. I like the courage that you have because it's a rare occurrence even when we do our work. But just like I mentioned earlier, within our work and interventions as Femnet, we've been able to create platforms for men. One thing that we have done is to just create an environment where they can come and talk. Freely, men to men, you know, men empowered men talking to other men. And just to be able to dialogue around these issues around gender-based violence or any other issue that affect men. Remember, it's not only gender-based violence that affect men. There's also health issues and concerns that men have that are not always communicated. Some like are suicidal tendencies. And this is because the society puts a lot of pressure on a man to be a real man, in the so-called real man. That if you are not employed, then you are a quarter man, or your manliness is lower. And so these are some of the things that torment the man, because he is confused. He doesn't know if he's actually the real man or is a man who is halfway a man. Therefore, if we don't have forums where men can come and talk about these issues that affect them openly amongst each other and also relate with women who've been in this experience, then it will be a challenge. Right now, we have this kind of forums in Kenya. And so you should not be afraid to come out to speak about your encounters with violence. Therefore, it's not a vacuum. There's no vacuum. There's already something happening, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
Okay. Let me just pause it right there. I'm being told we have a caller, Kirgat Ken from Embakasi. Good morning. How are you? What are your contributions to Weekend Express? Kurgat, if you can hear me, what are your contributions to Weekend Express?
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, I'm calling from Mombasa.
Yes, please continue.
And my contributions of the topic. Now, we've had a lot of issues. More so when we come to family issues, we have men and women who really are at differences over one or different issues and cases. When they come to, for example, the marriage or rather the couples, one needs to understand that they are so much different from the other person. And it is much important that we keep off the perceptions that one is above the other person. we have about the prerequisites of marriage. And by the way, many couples, as for now, they don't consider about what we call premarital counseling at the vanilla stage, of which we do encourage, because that is the most point whereby they can address most issues. That is where one can really understand themselves better. And when you come to esteem, that is where respect and admiration will come in. One will require to understand that he or she is different from the other person. Yeah. And when it comes to the issues of men, not addressing such issues, or rather going to visit a psychiatrist or a counseling psychologist for that matter. And men really need to keep off that perception, because men will suffer a lot. If you just say, I'm a gentleman, I'm a moron. Yeah? Imagine being a moron and you really suffer a lot, psychologically you suffer. So we need to accept, and one needs to become a version of oneself.
All right, thank you there, Kurgat Ken from Embakasi. Next is Richard Kemei from also Embakasi. Richard, good morning. What are your contributions to We Can Express? Richard, good morning. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
Yes. What are your contributions?
My contribution is that men always should be taught. Mm-hmm. Men should be advised on how to deal with violence.
Yes.
Because for me, I'm a victim for the last 10 years.
Yes, continue. Yes, continue, please.
I'm a victim for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And it started in 2007, 2008, period of violence. Me, I was married, and my wife entered into politics, and we separated.
Yes. And
by the time of the election, I had 7 children. So we separated all together. Me, by now, I'm staying alone, and my wife stays alone on the other side. So the children are suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Next is John Derry from Nyeri. John, what are your contributions?
Hello.
Hi, John. How are you? What are your contributions?
I'm talking about my wife. Mm-hmm. I'm 5.
Yes.
I have a problem with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I got her when she was very young. Mm. And I took her to a college. Mm-hmm. And since she started working.
Yes, yes.
She now frustrates me too much. Mm-hmm. She can't even hear anything from me. Mm-hmm. How can you help?
Are you still with the wife?
Yeah.
Are you still with her?
She went away last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll start with John Derry there. How can you help him? All right. Thank you there, John. How can you help him?
I think the first thing people need to realize is each one of us are their own human rights.
Yes.
And so, like in his case, I sympathize with the situation that they are not able to understand each other. Because basically in our traditional culture, that the reason why even people have to pay a bride price is that now the man feels it's like they own the woman. And if I pay your college fee, it's like you have no human rights.
Yes.
You have to get permission if you have to go to work. And if you have to work, you have to bring all the money to me. I'm not saying that sharing income is wrong, but when we are dealing with gender-based violence, we must understand that each one of us has their own human rights, and everything should be done by consent. And that's what I'm saying. There is a sort of change of the African culture when the woman starts working. So you have both gone to work. You're coming home very tired. There are duties to be done. You have a man who feels that things should be done the way when the mother was not the wife was not working and would stay in the house and do all the duties, yet he still wants the woman to bring an income and expect that she won't be tired to do all the chores at the same time. So we need to understand that things are changing and sit and discuss. Now, these are the situations. We have an extra income, you've gone to college, let's discuss how do we use this, rather than letting the extra income destroy the marriage. Let them see the issues which they are dealing with, open it up, hear opinions from both sides, and come to an agreed solution.
Yes.
That's what I would say.
Richard talked about his wife leaving him for politics, which is also something similar to what John is saying. You can be so good to your wife, yet at the end of the day, they leave you the moment they get something better. Kennedy, your thoughts?
One thing is that, like Doctor has said,
yes.
that, you know, a lot of times when we are growing, when we are graduating within the institution of marriage, we don't know what to do. We are not helped to understand the dynamics. For instance, when you started when your wife was not working, and then she gets a job, you don't know, you are not helped to understand the new roles that you can play as a couple. And that is very dangerous because, like she said, the expectations are still the same. You are doing economic related work, but then you are still expected to do the reproductive work. Yet, you know, dynamics have changed. One thing that is lacking in most of these cases is dialogue. Yeah. How do these people dialogue within the institution of marriage? And when that dialogue fails, definitely there will be competing interests. Because to a man, when you get something as a woman, yeah. Wewe ni bibi yake, kazi ni yake, alikuoa. So he doesn't understand why you should have the rights to. And these are the problems that we are, you know, helping men to, yeah. To you know, unlearn. Be open enough, be responsive to understand that roles are changing. And when you understand that roles are changing, how do you come together as a couple or as men and women yes. to dialogue and address the issues that emerge from this relationship? The expectations, like my friend was saying, how do we manage expectations when some of these, you know, when we encounter some of these things in our relationships? Yes. Yeah. So that's important, and we would like to even have a man-to-man talk with some of these people and see how to, you know, assist. But the idea of seeking psychosocial support is very, very critical, and from an expert. Yeah. Men think that they are strong, yes. But when you are perpetrating violence, you are not strong. Yes. Yeah.
So communication is key.
Critical.
So then how do we work with these people? I mean, I would know a victim. Yeah. Everyone knows a victim. 1 in 5. I mean, you know, 1 in 5. Everyone knows them. So then exactly what should I tell them? How can I advise them?
Before maybe I just take a step behind, this person from Nyeri said, my wife is young and I took her to college.
Yes.
Now, honestly, that responsibility is far-fetched, because if you take her to college, you expect some rewards, some kind of benefits.
But weren't you doing it for goodwill?
Thank you. What is this you call good to a woman? What are your parameters? Because today, I bring something to my wife expecting it will really charge her and she'll be very happy. But to her, that thing is the rust she wants in her life. So when you say men are doing good with their women, how good is good? That is a contentious issue. So I want to say this. The other one left for politics.
Yes.
Because of the excitement and the pomp that comes, any young girl from college will just desert any environment she feels is constricting. And no matter how good you are, yeah. this person will learn. And after they go, the man is left shattered, asking these questions. I was so good to her. Why did she leave? And that now
let me just interrupt you a bit. You said how good is good.
How good is good?
As a husband,
yes.
Shouldn't you know what your wife likes, what your wife doesn't like? I mean, for you to say that you've given her something good and she didn't return it, or maybe it's the last thing that she needed.
That's the dialogue.
That's now where we come into dialogue. And no, because like a man, I expect if I take you out to dinner, you will thank me from the Facebook, from Twitter, from SMS.
You expect
yes. And I expect you to treat me very good at home. So if she doesn't treat me according to my expectations, what will happen is something, a ramp will develop. And I will not tell you. What I will start doing is a psychological battle that will ignite another dynamite. And tomorrow, I will hit you.
So you need them to tweet you.
Exactly. No, that is why we are saying dialogue. And also, before you say I did good, like I took her to college, this girl, it's her right to be taken to college because she's young. But who should do the taking to the college? If you do as a man, then be prepared. Be prepared for any eventuality.
I think if I may interject, what is happening in our society, we have women growing up to know that they can reach their potential. I can become a politician. I can go to college. I can do my master's. I can do my PhD. But the men are also not changing to accept that a woman can, for example, go to politics.
Exactly.
A woman can earn more than me. A woman can go out to work and spend a night out. And so I think our society is changing, and we need to discuss that. However, that doesn't justify violence. There's no justification for violence, but these real issues need to be discussed. And I encourage men out there. One of the callers said they are a victim of domestic violence. I would encourage them to seek help. And as we emphasize, all of us here are in agreement that safety first.
Safety first.
So don't stay in the marriage or in the relationship when you're in danger of being killed. Safety first, but let us also look at generally, because our aim as a society is to prevent. Generally, what are the dynamics of the society? Is it that the woman is reaching her potential and the man is not accepting that fact, or is it vice versa? And we need to discuss those issues.
Kennedy, your final thoughts as you wind up.
We are living in denial, especially as men, because one thing we must accept that the world has changed to the extent that you alone as a man in a family cannot serve the entire family. You need help. And this help is handy, comes handy when you have an empowered woman who is able to provide, who is able to, generate resources. What we need to do is to accept that reality and learn to live with it. Learn to live with it, because anything in the contrary is not acceptable. And like I said, there's a lot of help at hand. If you feel that you are angry, you are annoyed, you want help, please call the national hotlines where you will be referred and somebody is going to assist you. Don't behave silly by hitting a woman, or don't behave silly by causing violence, because you will be helped. There's help at hand.
All right. Thank you very much. They're my able panel. To my immediate left, Dr. Catherine Siego, who is a psychiatrist. Next to her is Kennedy Otina, who is the program associate for Men-to-Men program at Femnet. And last but not least is Simon Macharia, or Simon Chege, if you like, who is a psychologist and also a survivor of gender-based violence. Now remember, people, the theme is leave no one behind. So you can always help those you think are in need. Keep the conversation going. You shouldn't, it's not considered as a stigma. We need to help one another. So Zinzi, when you get married, remember, communicate.
No, communication truly is important, actually. And may I just say that the panel you brought this morning, the two gentlemen, especially Simon, who came out to voice his concerns, that was very confident of him. And a lot of people have really been sharing their thoughts and comments this entire time. Allow me to read just one. George, you say, at least now people are recognizing that men need protection too. And it's important that we are having this conversation. So a lot of tweets have been coming through depending on Ashley's conversation this morning, that in case gender-based violence does also affect our men and boys. Wow, Ashley. So that was a very important conversation.
Indeed. So that's where we wind up here on Weekend Express. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Ashley Mazuri.
All right. My name is Zinzi Kipiku. Stay with us at 11 o'clock a.m. I'll be back with News Center. See you then.